The upgrade I've been waiting for is finally here. We've picked up the Motorguide xi3 with the 36-inch shaft. This motor is specifically designed for kayaks. So what I'm just trying to do, I've watched some videos, I've seen one other guy on YouTube who's actually mounted it specifically to the Perception Outlaw 11.5. I know a lot of my followers on here, you guys have joined because of my other rigging videos I've done on this thing. So I want to specifically do a video for this to show you guys how I mount it. It's going to be using some of the information that I've watched and a lot more figuring from design point from my end. It's going to be a hit and miss thing here. It might be over a couple of days just because I am trying to still figure out better ways I think that I could rig it up. So basically what I've got right now is I have a piece of PVC board here. This board is 1/2 inch thick and I'm going to be cutting it to fit in this section here for mounting the motor on. Now I have the quick release bracket for the Motorguide, so it's just as simple as pulling this pin out from the side and I'll be able to lift it off and take it out. So again, it's just figuring out the mounting points, because any of you guys that do have the Outlaw do know that space is limited up here. I do have my access point here, but to be able to get screws in, realistically only in this area. So I'm just trying to mess around with that. Same with the release up and down of lowering and raising the trolling motor. I think I've come up with another idea other than using paracord that a lot of guys are doing. They're drilling a hole down here and then doing that. I have a feeling over time that's going to rub and break. So what I'm thinking is possibly getting a brake line. And that way, that brake line housing, I'll be able to seal the hole here and that brake line will still function. So I'm just trying to figure out where I want to mount that, whether I want to do a pull handle up here near the switch. If you've seen my other lighting videos, that's my power switch for that. Or bring it out like the other guys have. Again, this is going to be a trial and error kind of thing, probably over a few days. And anyways, we're gonna get this rigged. I want to get it rigged right because lots of tournaments coming this year. I'm super excited for it and want to be rigged up and ready to go. So come with me on this journey and let's see. Okay, so here we are. I've got the bracket made. Now I have discovered something here. Not so much discovered because I remember somebody mentioning it in another video, but good information for you guys. I used 1/2 inch PVC panel. Now, the issue we were having with the 1/2 inch PVC panel is this is the trolling motor bracket. If you already have it, if not, you'll be able to see this better. You need to be able to pull this pin out. Now, with only using 1/2 inch, this plate was sitting down too low, so you wouldn't have been able to pull the pin out. Now, you can do this one of two ways. The way I've done it, because I didn't have enough PVC panel, you can make 2 of these plates and fasten them together. I didn't have quite enough, so what I did is I made 2 other pieces, and then I countersunk stainless steel screws into it in order to bring up the height, that extra 1/2 inch that we needed, so that this panel is now sitting flush with the top of the kayak. So now when we mount this piece, we'll easily be able to pull that pin out without struggling and trying to bend it up and everything. It's just an easy slide in and out. So the next step now is I'm trying to think of a different way to mount this, because again, I'm a little leery on putting the 4 screws just in this part of the kayak, because the front of this is then, you know, I don't know if it's actually going to move, but it could. So what I'm thinking at this point is somehow from underneath here, maybe finding a bracket that I can through bolt through here that's going to wrap around this handle part. So even just one part, just to help hold that snug a little bit. That way, without drilling holes into this, I can drill them into the plate, snug it down, and then it's just that little bit of extra reinforcement down there. So that's the next step I'm going to start thinking and figuring out before I really get into drilling these holes. Again, it's one of those things. This is your kayak, this is your baby. You want to do it right, you want to do it once. So it's a long thought process, but I want to help you guys out as much as possible too. So I'm going to figure this out and we'll get back to it. Okay, so I think I may have found a solution for fastening down the front part of the plate a little bit better. And what I've come up with is I've found these 1.25 inch electrical conduit fasteners. So this would typically put the conduit pipe on the wall and hold it in place. I've taken them, I've cut the ends off them a little bit. And what this is going to allow me to do, get a good shot for you guys, is it's going to come underneath this part of the handle here, and I'll be able to screw it into the top of the board. So everything under here is plastic. We're going to use stainless steel screws going into that plate, and I'm going to have two of them, one here and one here, and it's just going to help add that extra support. I know we are going to have 4 mounting points in here, but it's going to help this front end stay down as well. If you end up hitting something, right, you want a little bit more rigidity there, and these being PVC too, they're going to be a little bit flexible. So if you do hit something hard, there's going to be a little bit of movement, and they shouldn't break. So hopefully this is going to work. I'm getting ready to bolt these through now. And get it mounted in place. Then the plate's ready and we can move on to the actual trolling motor mounting plate. So I gotta go find some stainless steel through bolts to put in here, and away we go. Okay, so we're finally just ready to mount this mounting plate. I've been at this for way longer than I expected, but anyways, just want to give you an update on exactly what I've done and figuring out and changes I've had to make as I've been going for this. So here's the mounting plates. So what I've done is these 2 bolts, which this isn't quite in place yet, are mounted just to the plate itself, and they're going to be seen through there, which is completely fine. So that's going to be the front part of it mounting. Now the ones that come with aren't going to be long enough to go through the 2 layers plus the yak, because the way this sits, let me get it in the hole here for a second. The sides are up higher, so there's a little bit of a belly here, so it's just not quite enough. So what I've done is the plastic nylon washers that come with this, I've doubled them up underneath so that I've got a nice tight fit underneath here. And I've run some 3-inch zinc bolts, because I don't have stainless steel right now. I probably will change them out, but zinc is fine. And there's some stainless steel washers and some zinc lock nuts, so I should be able to get underneath there and mount this in place. And then once that's done, I've got my 2 on the sides that I'm going to do, and I'm going to use the ones that actually came with it that normally go in here. I'm going to use on the sides. So it's going to give me another mounting point to stiffen it up. Plus we're going to put these on underneath afterwards there, and it should be nice and solid. So I just wanted to show you kind of what it's looking like at this point and where we're at. So I've already done 2 holes in this kayak. When I am ready to mount this, I am going to put silicone up here, just to make sure we get a nice seal there as well. So make sure there's no water splashing up inside there. So that's where we're at now, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, fun little tidbit here. I hope you're still watching. You haven't done anything yet. Maybe I'll post a little thing in the beginning. I have my mounting plate on. It is nice and secure. It's not going anywhere. I'm gonna try to shine this underneath here so you can see what's going on. I've had to switch up some hardware because some stripped and stuff. It's really hard to get in here. So I'm gonna put my phone down here for light. Let's see if you can see what's going on down there. Okay. Trying to help you out. Okay, I don't know if you can see anything up there or not. That's what it looks like. Hopefully you can. Anyways, so finally had it mounted on there. Sorry, I'm just trying to turn my... Finally had it mounted on, bracket in, went to release the trolling motor down, and noticed the mounting plate here, when you go to drop it, this part here is hitting on here, so it doesn't lock down. So apparently there is a front and a back to this mounting plate. I had no idea. It doesn't say anywhere that I could see about that. So no big deal. I'm gonna loosen these all off now. Flip this plate around, so the short end, basically where it lines up, ends up being probably back here somewhere so that this can engage properly. So I'm going to do that now, and hopefully it doesn't change anything on the mount part. Okay, so we're day 2, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I want to wire everything. Now that we got it mounted, as you saw yesterday, I did take a little video on my phone. Maybe I'll input it here. If not, sorry, I'm still getting used to this whole technology thing. Anyways, so what I've done today is I'm starting to attempt the wiring. I kind of have a plan with what I want to do. Now, a big thing to remember, and I'm sure everybody's here has probably watched some other videos as well, make sure you have an inline fuse. Now, the inline fuse I got is right here. 60 amp inline fuse. I was gonna put it inside. If you've watched any of my other videos, I have my battery mount underneath here to run my lights on my kayak. And I was gonna tape it under there, but I think what I'm gonna do instead is I wanna get a new box here that's gonna hold the battery and hold my soft plastics and everything else. I think I'm gonna make it so it's inside the box. And then I just have a plug-in coming from out here that's gonna then plug into here. I cannot find those connections locally here, so I might have to order those online. Unfortunately, it's gonna put me a little farther behind here, but hey, we still got 2 months of winter anyways. So anyways, this is what I've done so far today. As you can see, I've got my wires run through here. I've got them fished all underneath, coming up into here, and I've decided to put my plug here. Reason being is I've done a few tournaments in the past where we've been in some big waves and this is kind of flooded right out. Obviously drained because of the scupper hole, but I didn't want to keep it too low. So even there, here where I've mounted my transducer through, I'm gonna end up siliconing this. There's a rubber grommet on there, so that should at least keep the water out of there anyways. So that's one thing I've done today too, is I always used to have my transducer just coiled up in that front hull area and then brought over, but I wanted to kind of run it, get it clean, get more wires out of the way, so now they're hidden inside the hull. Eventually gonna put power to it coming out here as well. So definitely some changes, some upgrades I'm doing at the same time here. So basically what I've done so far is this is going to be the plug-in for the trolling motor. And I've decided to put it up here. That way, again, the water's not getting to it as easy. It's not so susceptible. And I'm thinking of leaving this long. A lot of the guys are cutting them right short, so it just reaches and plugs in. But I don't know what I'm gonna go with next for another kayak or anything, so I might want that extra length. So rather than dealing with having to rewire internally, I'll just leave it long, and that's not gonna be a big deal. But what I am gonna do, just to protect this, because it is gonna be so long as well, and being moved on and off all the time, is I have one of the little rod gloves. So I'm gonna be cutting that up. I'm gonna slide that over this cable here. It's gonna help protect it. So basically that's what I'm working on today. That's probably gonna be it for this weekend. So next time you see me is gonna be another day, and hopefully we get this finished wired up. I did throw a battery on this thing a little earlier. I believe I mentioned that, so if you saw the video, I'm so excited for this thing. It's gonna be pretty sweet. So anyways, that's where I'm at right now, and I'll see you back on day 3. All right, we are the next weekend, third day here. We're trying to work on this, trying to come up with more ideas and stuff on how to make this motor work the best. So a couple of things I've made and some things I've done off camera, kind of getting excited and trying to see if they're gonna work anyways before I even show them. So I'm gonna kind of just do a quick overview of where I am at this point and what I'm gonna be working on today. So let's flip you around and see what's going on. So as you guys already saw from the video, we've got our PVC mounting plate. We do have the motor mounted on here. It is nice and solid. It goes up and down nicely. Here we have the wiring system. So we took a rod cover, covered up these wires. It just made it look nice and clean and neat. So we have our main plug in here. The trolling motor is going to plug into. Everything's been wired to it, going all the way through the hull, and then coming out the back here. Now in the back here, these wires are exposed. So again, I'm going to take one of those rod holders and cover this up. So the new thing and a new idea I've come up with is I've taken one of my Milwaukee pack-out boxes for work, and I'm converting it into my battery box. So as you can see here, I've got another connection here. There's going to be another quick connect here for this plug-in. Now, rather than having the wire come out here and plug into the kayak, I decided to leave the wire on the kayak because I feel like this is going to get moved around a lot more. So the wire getting hung up on something and broken a little easier. So I felt it better to, I'm going to have my connection on here. And then as you can see from here, this just goes in, snaps, done. Quick and easy. So the plug-in's going to be right there somewhere. And then it's a simple twist and pull out. So I think this is a great one. I really wish I would have bought this one from the start. It was much cheaper than the actual Motorguide ones, and actually the reviews on it for this application were better. So that's where I'm at this point. As you can see right now inside here, let's go from the other side here. It'll be a little easier to see. So I have my wiring coming through here. I do have my 60 amp breaker in here. I didn't want to run it inside the hull like a lot of the other guys, because if you need to get to it, it's a little harder inside your hull. So from here, I'll be able to lift up the lid and flick it if I really need to. This is more than enough room that if I wanted to go with 200 amp hours, no problem, and I won't have to worry about charging for an entire weekend. So whether I want to go that route with weight, the only way I'd go with 2, I think, is if I went with 2 lithiums, just because the weight will balance out to one of the regular lead acid ones. So that's where we're sitting at right now with this build. So basically I want to get this wiring tidied up and done. I'm going to borrow one of the batteries from work here for a little bit to kind of test everything out, because I have not purchased my battery yet, and finish getting this wired up. Now, another thing I've done kind of off note here is I'm trying to figure out, any of you guys that have been following me for a while, you know that I made my own milk crate, I guess, for fishing. So this is the old one here. It's worked well for me. There's not a lot of room. Kind of keep my soft plastics in it, sunscreen, all that kind of junk. So I made my own fishing rod holders and stuff. So upgrade for this year with this Milwaukee pack out now. There's so many things I can do. I can get the small trays for tackle and everything else, which eventually will upgrade for me for that. And then it all clips into each other. So the first upgrade I've already done is this. So I've bought the Milwaukee crate. And what I have is some of these cheap rod holders from Amazon. I'm gonna have one on each side. I'm still working on the mounting for it. And this, so simple with this Milwaukee stuff, guys. If you don't have Milwaukee stuff, you'll realize how versatile this is. Boom, clipped in, it's done. So I still have to put tether points on here like I did with my old ones. So the bottom one of my battery box will be mounted down. And there we go. I have my rod holders up here. I have easy access storage for things that I need to put in there, whether it be my terminal, tackle, whatever I need for the day is just so easily accessible. So that's what I'm working on right now. I want to finish getting this wired up, make sure everything works well, and we're just going to keep rigging. It's been a blast for me, a lot of thinking and stuff, and really figuring things out. So again, if there's any questions you guys have on how I've done something, or if you have a better idea on how I can improve mine, write it down in the comments, and I'd be happy to get back to you guys. So let's keep going on this build and see what we can do. Oh, and the other thing that I found on Amazon for really cheap, I think it was like $7 or something, probably even cheaper for you American friends out there. I don't know if any of you guys have seen the videos, what people have been doing for the Motorguide in order to put the bracket on the shaft itself, or pulling it up and down so that it's loose. That bracket that I looked at for I believe it's for Panoptics or something like that, was about $80 here, which was just ridiculous. I couldn't really justify doing that. So after some Google searching and stuff like that, and just looking around Amazon, I found what I think is the perfect bracket for, again, $7 Canadian. So yeah, it couldn't go wrong with this. So I'm going to show you here. So this bracket right here, which is virtually the same thing, same idea what they were doing. It's able to split and go around it and still have room, so that when the motor is turning around, it's not spinning up your rope on you. This bracket is actually for like movie set or stage lighting, to go around the bars on the stage lighting. I'm trying to remember exactly what it's called, but I'll put it right down at the bottom right here, so you can find it easily. And again, it was $7. It's a really heavy duty PVC. So I'm gonna put like an eye bolt on here or something that I'm gonna be able to attach the rope to. So when I'm ready, I bought some of these ropes too, again, a couple of dollars off Amazon. I got to extend the ropes on them, but I got the pull handles. So basically what's going to happen, I'm sure a lot of you guys have already watched other videos, this rope's going to be on here, and when it's down like that, I'll be able to grab the rope from here and pull it up. So still got to figure out exactly how I'm going to run my rope for depressing the pedal here, but we're working on it. The way I've actually mounted the bracket on here compared to what I've seen one other person do on the Perception 11.5, I feel like I could get a lot of water inside the hull by doing it that way. So I'm really trying to still work on the idea of what I want to do for that. I've done a few tournaments now where it's just been crazy weather and that front little hull compartment fills right up. So I'm a little leery about putting a hole there. So again, got to come up with a different plan, a different idea, but I'm going to see what we do to execute it. Anyways, let's keep going with this build and see what we end up with. Okay, let's do an update to show where I'm at here. I've got most of the battery back. Ooh, whoa. I have most of the battery box put together here. I have a battery in here for now just to make sure everything's working and going right. So here we are. Here's a look at how I've got everything set up at the time. So here's my Milwaukee pack out. I've covered up these wires I showed you earlier with a nice wire protector into this quick connect. So that's just gonna sit here inside the kayak when I'm transporting it. I have no wires hanging out of here that's gonna get hung up on anything and get caught and ripped out. So again, this is a quick connector here. So it just goes on here and snaps in. So it's not gonna come out. So you can just hear, I don't know if you heard the motor turn on. We've got power all the way to here, which is great. There's the connection for that. And again, the wires run inside the hull and come out here. Open up the lid. Bam. I have a 92 amp hour in here for right now that I'm just using for the time being. Here's the breaker here. So if I push this lever, boom, all the power shuts off to the motor over here, which is great. So when it's not in use and everything else and it's still wired up, I'll be hitting that button just so it's not drawing any unnecessary power. So it's as quick and simple as just pushing that and flicking it back in, and we're good to go. So I have my connections here. This is a closed cell battery, so it is fine to be on its side. If you're going with a standard lead acid that you have to add water to eventually, do not put it on its side, it will leak. So this one is designed for mounting it however which way you like. So the reason why it's not standing up is the posts actually get a little bit in the way here. If I wanted to do 2 batteries, they do fit almost perfectly standing up in there, but I wanted to put the one in the center here to balance out the weight at this point, because I think as most of you know, if you have the Perception 11.5, the front sits fairly low as it is. So with the motor on it, it's going to sit a little lower. So going with the lead acid instead of the lithium, like I said, unless you went with 2 lithiums, you want to balance out that weight. So the kayak's going to sit a little better in the water. So this is where I'm at this point. Everything looks clean. I like how it is. I'm going to put some blocking in here just so the battery can't slide around on me. And yeah, that's most of the setup for the motor itself. From here on out, I'm going to be messing with some other things, like I showed you the new crate for the top for my rod holders and such. And yeah, so basically as it goes for the Motorguide, the only things I have left that I'm going to put in this video, possibly, I'm not too sure yet, because it's going to take me some time to figure out still, is how to deploy and return the motor itself. But basically I'm not going to do anything different than other videos you've seen from Fluke Master and such, where they've done the rope pulley, other than the one that's either going to run internally for depressing the foot pedal. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do it yet, so a little bit more figuring out. But yeah, so I'm pretty pleased with how everything's turned out. It's clean, everything's protected, and it's fairly easy. And honestly, this Milwaukee box, if a lot of you are saying, oh, Milwaukee box is probably expensive, it's still way cheaper than buying one of these crates, which are absolute garbage as far as I'm concerned. This is 100% waterproof, easy to carry. This handle actually locks in too, so you have a nice carrying handle here. So it's going to work out really well, I think. And again, being able to be so versatile with being able to clip in other trays and such if I need to in the future, it's a no-brainer for me. Especially I already had that box, so it worked out good. So yeah, I'm going to keep messing around. One other quick thing I'll show you, which I am going to go over a full rig out once the kayak is done. But for those of you who don't know, I actually got this from a guy. His channel is Man Bun Fishing. He hasn't put out a lot of videos, but this was a fantastic idea. As you know, those Perception saddlebags are just ridiculously expensive for absolutely no reason. And you can only fit, I believe, 3,600 Plano boxes in there. These are chrome cast bags. These are actually musicians bags for, I believe, amplifiers or something like that. They're $20 on Amazon, and they fit absolutely perfect in here. Like, they're not moving around, and I have 2 full-size 3,700 boxes in here. I could fit more too. You got the outer bag as well. So this is, if you're still looking for a saddlebag or something to do, rather than trying to do, as far as I'm concerned, the ugly ammo cans on the side that people are doing. But anyways, whatever you like, obviously. But those bags, again, super cheap at like $20, and quick, easy solution. So yeah, so I'm gonna keep pecking away at some stuff here, and we'll see where we end up. All right, day 4 of this build. Now I'm kind of starting this mounting plate again, and I'm gonna show you why. When I was starting to play with the whole rope idea of the deploy system that I'm gonna be making for this thing, I didn't like how the front end was. It was a little bit loose, and I went to make some brackets to tighten it down, and I'm gonna show you what happened here. So I used like a loose packed PVC, and it blew right through. I don't know if you can see that very well. Not too happy with that. So what we're gonna do is I went to the dollar store and I picked up these plastic cutting boards. So it's a nice solid plastic. So I picked up 3 of these. I'm gonna trace out this pattern. They're a little bit smaller than what the plate was here, but it's not a huge deal. It's gonna be pretty close. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a triple ply with these cutting boards, remount them, this time with well nuts being in the front. Because we have no access in the front of this handle, I'm gonna mount some well nuts in here so I can mount those down nicely and remount this again. I just wanna make sure it's solid. Obviously, you know, you spend this kind of money on a trolling motor, you wanna make sure it stays on your boat. So that's what I'm doing today. Let's see how it turns out. All right, this has certainly been an interesting experience. I'm hoping you guys pick up a thing or two from this, and any other information, like I said before, that you have to maybe help me out next time or make something better on this, let me know. So as I told you, and I showed you the plate before, I'm gonna turn you around and show you where I'm at now. So what I've done is I've gone to Dollarama. I've picked up these just cheap plastic cutting boards, but they're a nice solid plastic. This is what I was using before, and as you can see by looking at that, it's not a very dense PVC, so it blew through on me. So what I've done is I've taken 2 of those cutting boards, I've made a plate top and bottom of it and kind of sandwiched the old one. And then for mounting this time, rather than just doing washers here, and I was only mounted here and here, right? And then I was trying to do this bracket system here to tighten down the front end, because there's not really anywhere to get your hands in here to put nuts or anything. So the bracket system I didn't like. I used the PVC conduit hangers. It wasn't rigid enough. Once I started doing the pull system, I saw the flex in the front end. I didn't like that. So I went to do metal ones, which I knew would eventually rust until I came up with something better. That's what I was gonna do. And once I went to tighten those down, it blew through the PVC, which is why we're here now and taking it all apart and doing it again. Make sure it's right the first time, because you don't want to lose a $2,000 trolling motor in the water. So what I've done this time, in order to mount it in the front and get a nice secure hold, is I've purchased well nuts. So these well nuts are actually the ones from the Scotty screw and well nut kit. I couldn't get them. They kept popping through the hull on me. I drilled the proper size hole that it called for and everything else. I did happen to pick up some other different style well nuts, so the actual flange around it was a little thicker. For Canadian Tire, it was actually cheaper, to be honest, and they seem to do all right. So now, just for now, I have just the 4 corners. I have it in the front here in this handle, so the well nuts make it watertight, and this is not moving now at all. So super happy with that. So once I go to put this mount back on now, I am still gonna have those 2 holes going right inside, so that's gonna be another 2 anchor points inside the hull, and then these other 2 bolts, like before, are gonna come through underneath here. So much more rigid this time. I'm a lot happier with it now. I was getting a little worried there, so it didn't take me long. You know, I'm about another hour into this, taking it apart and putting it back together, but it's just to make sure it's done right, because again, we have a lot of money invested in this stuff, so we want to make sure we take care of it and it's good and secure. So that's where I'm at now, and we'll come back when hopefully the whole thing's done. here we are, rigged out, the Motorguide's installed. I have all my pulley system in. You guys saw the quick shot of everything that's been going on in the yak over the last 4 days. It's taken me to do this. A lot of engineering and a lot of thought went into this. So this is what I've come up with. If you guys have any better ideas or anything you think I should have done differently, leave it in the comments. If you have any comments or questions on what I did, more specifically, feel free to message me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So I'm going to hop up there now, show you how the deployment works on this, and we'll have a good look at it. So I got my pull cord on my right side for depressing the button, which is run inside the hull, and this one here is to stabilize it as it's dropping down. It's that simple. And I got my remote, turn it on, and then I can move it around. I've got the battery shut off right now, so let's turn it on real quick. Again, I have easy access to that breaker. Rather than stick it inside the hull, I can just reach back there, hit it if I need to. So now the motor's on, fire it up, and away she moves. It's going to be a complete game changer this year, especially for this tournament series. As of last year, you were allowed to run motors in the series, or the trail that I'm in, so I'm really excited to hopefully get me more time focused on fishing this year during these tournaments rather than fighting the waves that I have been with the paddle. So for those of you that have the 11.5, you know how much of a pig this thing is to try to move around on windy days, so hopefully this is going to make a huge difference for me. So to bring it back up, it's quick and simple, same thing. Pull on this with a lever, pull this up, she's locked in. It's done, it's that easy. So that's a system I come up with, a mixture between what I've seen on Fluke Master and the other one I believe is 334 Fishing. He did one on an Outlaw 11.5 as well. So again, any questions you guys have, feel free to message me. Fishing's a huge element in my life. I hope it's a huge element in yours. So wherever you are, live the element.